Hello. Man, I've been loving this series, Mission Critical. I'm a big fan of trips to space. Has anybody else been following? They just named the next Artemis crew, although I promise you they will not be as famous because they're not going past the moon and back. But we've been talking about how we are living out a mission that is incredibly critical. It's more critical than people going to space. And people going to space is kind of terrifying and kind of amazing all at the same time. And that's kind of what we're finding as we follow Jesus together and as we live out this mission together. One thing that I'm really excited about today is that we get to talk about life change because that's at the center of our mission. And I can't imagine these astronauts who went on this mission to go all the way around the moon and back for Artemis 2. Their lives were drastically changed, not only by being chosen and called to do what they're doing, but then once they were up there getting to see the earth from space. I can't imagine how much it changed your life and changed their perspective. But today we're talking about the relational part of our mission. So our mission at the Hills is to lead anyone and everyone into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. And so week 1, we talked about what it means to be a leader. Week 2, we talked about who our mission is for. It's for anyone and everyone. And it kind of sounds redundant, but it's made to sound redundant because Jesus is for anyone and everyone. And so we want to be for anyone and everyone. This week is all about how we're leading them into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. So I want to ask you, who are the 5 people in your life who are closest to you? Maybe it's a really good friend. Maybe it's a family member, parent, sibling, spouse, one of your kids, maybe a neighbor. Who are the 5 people who have the most influence on your life? Think about that for a second. And then I want you to think about this. You are kind of, in a lot of ways, the sum of those 5 people. So we've got, I think we have a graphic that kind of shows there are 5 people who, there's actually 6 people around this person, so they get a 6, they get a bonus. But those people in your life, they influence you. And then there are other people in your life who you are one of the 5 for them. And this is how relationships work, right? Like there's this kind of therapeutic method called family systems therapy. So if you've ever been to a family systems therapist or you've ever studied different kinds of therapy, they say that every individual exists not as a person out on their own, but they exist in a system. And for a lot of us, that's the family we grew up in. Maybe it's a group of coworkers. Maybe it's a friend group. You're usually part of more than one system. And so what affects a person doesn't just affect a person, it affects the whole system. And God made us this way. He made us to be relational. And we are always influencing each other, and you are always the sum of the 5 people who are closest to you, except when you're a leader. And we talked about week 1, you are a leader. Our mission is to lead, and unless you are willing to say, I'm a leader, you will not be able to live out the mission of the Hills. Because our mission is to lead anyone and everyone into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. Let me tell you, it is hard to be a leader. Putting yourself out at front, moving a system somewhere it doesn't want to go is difficult. It's painful, but it's what God is calling us to do. And it's how people become followers. And it's how people's futures change. So you are a leader. Believe it. And once you believe it, I want to ask you this. What are you leading people into? Lots of options, right? Really, you're leading them into who you are. You're leading them into what you value. You're also kind of leading them into your own dysfunctions. And if there's healthy things about your life, you're leading them into those healthy things. If there's unhealthy things about your life, you're leading them into those unhealthy things. What are you leading people into? Values, behaviors, goals. Can we all admit there's some times that we have led people in a way that we are maybe a little bit ashamed of how we've led them? I remember my senior year of high school, I had worked really hard at tennis. and I had become the number one tennis player on my team. I was so proud to get to be a leader on my tennis team. We had already won the state tennis championship twice, and we were trying to lead our team to a third state tennis championship. And if you know, when there's a championship team, there's just kind of this raw energy in the system. And it's always boiling over, and a lot of bad things happen. A lot of bad decisions are made in the culture of the team. If you ever played sports at a high level, you know what I'm talking about. There's just like this unchecked aggressiveness, right? Like we have it. And I remember on the way to the state tournament, the boys were in one van and the girls were in one van. We were on the same team, right? But we were competitive. And so we wanted the boys to get there first. And the girls, they wanted to get there first. So the girls kept passing the boys and the boys kept passing the girls. And so I got this great idea. If there's kids in the room, I'm sorry. But I decided the boys, we're not only going to convince our assistant coach to pass the girls again, we're going to all line up the side of this van and we're going to moon them. I know, I'm sorry. And if that wasn't bad enough, we had a theme for the whole season. It was domination. We wanted to dominate every match, dominate every tournament we went to. And so we stole our assistant coach's lipstick, and we just wrote domination in a very creative way as we mooned the girls' van as we were driving by. And I tell you this because it doesn't matter how bad of a leader you've been. I have been a terrible leader. I've done some really dumb things. Can I also admit, we don't have the school booked today? My setup leader, Joe, called me and said, there's no one here to let us in. And so I asked the head custodian if she would let us in. She said yes. And then she said, by the way, you don't have the school booked today. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And so what I'm trying to tell you is you're a leader and you can lead. And even if you've led people into bad things like not booking schools or mooning with domination, the things that you're leading people into don't have to always be the same. There's grace. And so I want to talk about what is the very best thing we can lead people into. You may already be a good leader in some things. Maybe you're helpful with people around you with their finances or with their health. Those are great things, but those are not the best thing to lead people into. And so let's go see what Jesus leads somebody into in Mark chapter 5. This story is awesome. And I believe it could be life-changing for you and for the people that you're leading. Mark chapter 5, we're at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. Jesus has just taught some really rich parables that really have created the environment in which he's doing ministry. He talked about the sowers, and he's sharing the gospel as he's teaching the disciples about how he shares the gospel. And then he decides they're going to go across the Sea of Galilee to this region called the Gerasenes, and he takes a nap while he's on the boat. Anybody know what happens while he's taking a nap? Huge storm comes, and there's mountains, or like kind of small mountains, and then a flat sea. And when the wind comes over the mountains, it just sweeps into the sea, and it just makes these huge squalls, and Jesus is sleeping in the boat, water splashing on him. I kind of feel like he's probably faking sleeping, and they come to get him like, Jesus, don't you care that we're about to drown? And Jesus just gets up, and I think he probably smiles, and he just tells the wind and the waves to be calm and still. And the disciples are looking at each other like, who is this guy that even the wind and the waves obey him? And that's when we get to the setting that we're about to get to. And it's not a happy place that they arrive to after Jesus calms the storm. It's a graveyard. And ancient Jewish people would have had a really big problem with a graveyard because it was unsanitary and it was ritualistically unclean to Jewish people. So if they went to a graveyard or touched a dead body, they would have to spend an entire week long doing a purification process. And not to mention, that not just that they were in a graveyard, but they were in an unknown region that was all Gentiles, non-Jews. And so culturally, they were outside of their comfort zone. Maybe some of these people had never been to this area. We don't know. And this is a pivotal moment for Jesus because he's saying it's not just a Jewish thing. It's not just for people like you. He's taken them out of their comfort zone. Last week, our friend Eliezer did an amazing job preaching who our mission is for. It's for anyone and everyone. Jesus is for anyone and everyone. And our mission at the Hills is to lead anyone and everyone into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. And that's what's going to happen in Mark chapter 5. I'm going to read just the first 5 verses at first. It says, they went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. This guy is not at the top of my leadership development pipeline. I mean, if you're trying to choose who you want to lead, I don't think anybody would choose this guy. He's homeless. He's living in a graveyard. He's crazy. He has this weird supernatural strength from this impure spirit that is torturing him and possessing him. It's more like a horror movie than a happily ever after. And I think that Jesus purposefully goes to this guy. Because if your life feels more like a horror movie than a happily ever after, that's where you need Jesus. And that's where Jesus comes in. It's never happily ever after at first for Jesus, but Jesus always brings life change. And here's what happens, verse 6, when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. And he shouted out at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? God, in God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, we didn't even know. Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What's your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And every Jewish person, when they heard that name, Legion, they would have thought about their Roman occupiers, thousands and thousands of soldiers from the Roman army who occupied and dominated these Jewish cities. That's what they would have thought of when they heard that word, legion. Legion means thousands. It's a military word. So it sounds kind of scary. My name is Legion, for me are many. But then listen, there's a kind of a shift that happens in 10. And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. Why does the man and the demon-possessed man, and I guess the demon controlling the man, come straight to Jesus? I mean, I don't even know if Jesus is on land. He may still be walking on the wet sand at this point. Why does he come straight to Jesus? In the sports world, we have a saying, game recognized game. Does that make sense? Like, this guy was powerful. This demon was powerful. It overtook the will of a man. It broke every chain they tried to bind him with. But Jesus is more powerful than a legion of demons. And he yields instantly. Because game recognized game. Anybody watch the World Series last year? 3 people. Cool. 4, 5. Game 3 was probably the most interesting one, even though, it wasn't the last game, obviously, because you had to win 4. But the Blue Jays had a pitcher up who was a really good pitcher last season. His name's Chris Bassett. He had 11 wins as a starter, but then when they realized when they moved him to a reliever, he was even more effective in his pitching. And so, Chris Bassett was up, Game 3 of the World Series. But what happens is that as great as he was, he met his match. Game recognized game. And you know who came to the plate? Do we have a picture? Gosh. As a Padres fan, it's hard to marvel at the greatness of Shohei Ohtani. But game recognized game, man. And so what happens? This great pitcher, Chris Bassett, having an amazing season. He pitches 4 balls in a row to Shohei. Because game recognized game. And then what happens? The game keeps going and nobody wins. Because Shohei Ohtani had gone 4 for 4. He had 2 doubles and 2 home runs. They were like, we give up. And so every time he comes up to bat, the rest of the 17-inning game, they pitch him 4 balls. Because game recognized game. Listen, this demon, This legion of demons had nothing to throw at Jesus. Jesus goes 4 for 4 every time, and they can't walk him. This is how we love Jesus. He is more powerful than legions. Jesus is the most powerful. And I hope that encourages your heart right now, because right now you might feel like there's a power that's like affecting your life. Jesus is more powerful. Gain, recognize, gain. And so here's what happens. Verse 11, a large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them. He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Now, this is a really culturally complex moment, because these Jewish young adult guys who were following Jesus around, some of them had never possibly been to this region of the Gerasenes. They may have never even seen pigs before, because in a Jewish community, pigs were unclean. Pigs were not allowed. You could not eat pork. You could not touch pigs. And so Jesus shows his power, and he kind of nods to the Jewish custom of like, these are unclean. And actually now, most meat in the first century was undercooked. Anybody like undercooked bacon? No, we don't eat undercooked pork because it will get you sick. And so Jesus drives these demons into these pigs, and these pigs go, Jesus may have saved some lives. They're eating undercooked bacon over there. Verse 14, those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and the countryside, and the people went out to see what happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons. Don't miss this part. Sitting there. Just sitting there. Dressed. And in his right mind. Whole. His life transformed in a moment through an encounter with Jesus. And it says, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. Now, of course, thousands of pigs would have been worth a lot of money. And so people who were invested into this probably community herd of pigs, they were upset with Jesus for doing away with their income. But also there was something about the power that they saw in Jesus that was unpredictable. I'm sure they had learned to avoid the crazy guy living among the tombs. And yeah, that was scary, but that was a lot less scary than a man who could command legions of spirits. And let me just say this. People don't understand when a life is changed by Jesus. And the reason is because to the world, people never really change. I mean, yeah, you might change a little bit, but the core of who you are, we are the same people. So for someone's life to change in such a way that they saw this man change, it was supernatural. Or really to the world, it was just unnatural. But life change is at the center of the mission of Jesus. And it is at the center of our mission too. Our mission, I'm going to say it again. I want you to learn this. I want you to try to say it. You know what? Let's say it together. Our mission, come on, say it with me. Our mission is to lead anyone and everyone into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. Can we say it one more time? And can you say it with a little bit of oomph? Because this is going to change our city. This is going to change the freaking world. Come on, say it with some oomph with me. Ready? Our mission is to lead anyone and everyone into a life-changing relationship with Jesus. Hallelujah. Come on. You want to see this affect your world? You want to see this affect your home, your school, your workplace? I do. I want to see life change like this guy. And I'll tell you what, I've already seen it in people's lives. And we're going to keep seeing it in people's lives. Because when someone encounters Jesus, when someone experiences a relationship, they're changed. And every relationship changes you a little bit, doesn't it? This is why you care about who your kids are friends with. Because depending on who they're friends with, they might change a little bit this way, change a little bit that way. Some positive influence, some negative peer pressure. This is why you care about who you marry. This is why old people look like couples. They look like brother and sister. Don't they? Because we change each other. Anybody been a parent and had that change you? I mean, you cannot be selfish when you're a parent. You'll get your kid taken away. Relationships change, but Jesus, a life-changing relationship with Jesus, is the most life-changing relationship anybody can have. And let me tell you why. It's because any other relationship, people have things where they influence each other. So like when I married my wife, Amy, I'm sure I influenced her a little bit. She influenced me a little bit, some good ways, some bad ways. She's way better than me, and so I feel like maybe I dragged her down a little bit, for being completely honest. But the great thing about a relationship with Jesus, Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so you may have heard that before. Jesus is unchanging. And when we have a relationship to him, he doesn't bend, I bend. You bend. He is unchanging. And the more we have a relationship with him, the more our lives change to become like him. So what do you do with this? First of all, some of us in the room might need to identify with this crazy guy. Maybe you got the crazy guy thing going on in your life. Maybe there's things that you've tried to put boundaries in your life, chains that you've tried to put on yourself, or someone else has tried to put boundaries that they're broken. And there's just this craziness that you're living in. You're living in the graveyard. So somebody in the room needs to admit and say, you know what? I'm in a graveyard. There are patterns in my life that are not healthy, and they're scaring people around me. And it's created isolation. Gosh, you think this guy was lonely out there? Haunted by the voices in his head? Nobody wants to get within a mile of him. Maybe you need to admit there's a broken way of thinking, a despair in your life that's keeping you from having hope. Maybe there's an addiction. Maybe there's a dysfunctional relationship or a circumstance that just feels completely hopeless. Admit you're in a graveyard, because that's when Jesus can rescue, can save, can restore. He can transform your life. This is what we want to lead people into, but we got to experience it for ourselves first. A life-changing relationship with Jesus. Can I tell you there's nothing better to experience in all the world than a life-changing relationship with Jesus? You may say, I've believed in God. You may say, like, you know what? Yeah, I actually agree with what you're saying. Jesus is good. I've read about him. I mean, a lot of people want to talk about how the Bible is no longer applicable, but if you look at the life of Jesus, you can't argue with that. He's perfect, loving, sacrificial. He's a perfect leader. You need that. And you don't just need to believe it cognitively. You need a life-changing relationship with Jesus. And maybe for you, in just a few minutes, I'm going to give you an opportunity to start that here and now. Today could be your day. Everything changes. Some people feel like I've already had, I've experienced this life-changing relationship, but there's an area in my life where I just feel stuck. And when you feel stuck, What it means is that you have disengaged from your relationship with Jesus. Because when you engage with a relationship with Jesus, there is no stuck. And so for some of you, you need to say, okay, today, I am going to get unstuck through my relationship with Jesus. I am going to get unstuck. Sometimes it's as simple as just listening to what he's telling you to do. Stop isolating. Living in a community of people who are following Jesus alongside of you. Submitting to something in his word that you're not submitting to. You can get unstuck today. If you feel stuck, today you can get unstuck. And the method for getting unstuck in your life isn't a self-help book. It isn't therapy. I go to therapy. I love therapy. But that's not how you get unstuck. You get unstuck through your relationship with Jesus. No amount of money will make you unstuck. No amount of education, no right job, no right boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, kid, friend, mentor will get you unstuck besides Jesus. This is what we're about. Get unstuck through your relationship with Jesus. And for the rest of us, like you're in your relationship with Jesus, you don't feel stuck, you are moving, he's staying the same, you're bending and being molded into the image of him. Here's what you need to do. You need to remember, man, I was in the graveyard. And he delivered me, he saved me, he transformed my life. And now, guess what? He's calling you to go to the graveyard. And yeah, maybe it's scary. Maybe there's a place in your life. Maybe it's a physical place. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a family member. And he's saying it's time for you to go to the graveyard. It's time for you to have courage and say that he who is within me is more powerful than legions. And he's calling you to take a step towards the dangerous place. He wants you to take a step towards those who are more vulnerable, more risky. And I promise you, he will meet you there. No one can harm a hair on your head. He is going to take care of you. You are safe in him. Where is he calling you to? Where is your mission? Jesus modeled living on mission so well with this guy. He was willing to go through a storm to get to him. Just like he sent this guy, verse 18. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but he said, go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. So the man went away and began to tell the Decapolis, 10 cities, how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. Can you imagine how this guy's family must have experienced this story? Their own son, their own brother, their own dad was a crazy person, living among the tombs, breaking chains, literally scaring everyone, cutting himself with rocks. This guy was demented. But they got him back. He was dressed. And he was in his right mind. We love great testimonies here at the Hills. We share them. Everybody who gets baptized has an opportunity to share how Jesus has changed their lives. And I'll tell you what, we cheer, we go crazy. We love sharing testimonies and celebrating testimonies. But can I tell you, the best testimonies don't mean the most at church. They mean the most at home. One of my favorite testimonies that we've gotten to share at the Hills is a couple, Evan and Felicia. I met Evan and Felicia when they were coming out of an addiction, coming out of homelessness, living at a rehab. And they had this life-changing relationship with Jesus. And it was amazing. And I remember interviewing you guys, going to your house and just hearing you just talk through like all the things Jesus has delivered you from. And like, there's just no way I could hear that and not have my faith explode in growth. And we shared it. We made a whole video. We showed it on a Sunday and everybody cheered. But can I tell you, it didn't mean as much to them as it did to their families. Their moms used to pray Mark 5 over them, that they would be dressed, that they would be in their right minds. And those testimonies, I talked to one of their moms this week and she said, I still thank God for what he's done in Evan and Felicia every day. I can't imagine this guy's family, how they experienced it. I want you to think about for a second, what is God speaking to you in this moment right now? We're going to have a response time here in a minute. And I think there's maybe a couple different options for where you're at. I think for some of us, you need to admit you're in the graveyard. I'm going to call the band up. We're going to pray. And I want to pray for you, and then I want to invite you to pray with somebody. I think there's some people in this room right now who maybe you believe in Jesus. Maybe you're trying to be a good person, but things just aren't really clicking. And I'm wondering if it's because you believe in your mind, but you have not really started that relationship with Jesus. And today, right now, he is calling you. He wants to transform your life, just like how he transformed this guy's life. So it's time to admit you're the one in the graveyard. Ask Jesus to set you free. Ask him to drive the darkness away, because he does. He can drive away legions. I want to ask you to just bow your head and close your eyes for a second. And I want you to tell God where you're at. Maybe you don't know how. And tell him that. Say, God, I don't know how to tell you where I'm at. For those of you who are in the graveyard, I just want you to tell God that. Like, God, I feel like I'm in a graveyard. And I need your help. There's things in my life that are dysfunctional, that are painful, that are hurting people around me, hurting myself, and I don't want to live that way. Set me free. Drive the darkness away, Lord. If that's you, I want to ask you to have the courage when we start singing to get up, go find someone in the back. Tell them, I feel like I'm in a graveyard and I want Jesus to set me free. And they'll walk you through how to start a relationship with Jesus, because it is the most life-changing thing you could ever experience. There's some in the room who you have been delivered from a graveyard. And it's time for you to remember that. Remember how he came for you in the graveyard. Remember how he set you free. Psalm 51:12 says, restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. And so right now, for those of us who know we've been delivered, I just want you in your heart to tell God, thank you. Thank you for delivering me from that addiction, from that dysfunctional relationship, from that circumstance that seemed hopeless. And I want you to just, as we sing this next song, believe that he has good plans and more freedom and more healing for you going forward. And then for those who feel like God is calling you to go to the graveyard, maybe just ask him, Lord, what does it mean for me to go to the graveyard? Ask him, Lord, which graveyard are you calling me to? Is it a relationship with someone I know? Is it a an actual location you want me to go to. Am I supposed to go to a graveyard at work, go to the graveyard at school, my neighborhood, my friend group? And then I want to dare you to say, Lord, I'll go. Lord, I want to follow your example. Go to the graveyard. I want to offer people this life-changing relationship with Jesus that I have gotten the opportunity to live. So any of those, if you identify with any of those groups, either you feel like you're in the graveyard, you need to be set free, or you want to thank God for the graveyard you're in or you've come out of, or you feel like he's calling you to the graveyard, I want to ask you, go ask somebody to pray with you, because they would love to do it. They'd love to pray for you. No judgment. They're not going to make you fill out a long questionnaire. It's just a brother or a sister that will love you and pray for you. And if today is your day that you start a relationship with Jesus, you need to tell somebody about that. We want to celebrate with you, because life change is exciting, and this is an important day. Lord, I know there's people in here who feel like they are in a graveyard, and I pray, Lord, right now in Jesus' name that you would set them free. I pray that they would surrender to you fully, Lord, believing that you are who you say you are. Jesus died for them, died for their sins. May they turn to you, repent, lay down their life before you and say, your life is mine. I believe you are who you say you are. I want to come out of the graveyard dressed and in my right mind. And for those of us who have been saved and transformed, Lord, may we just praise you for that and thank you. You came for me in the graveyard. And to those you are calling to walk in this mission, this beautiful mission, Lord, may we have the courage to go to that graveyard, to go to the place that feels scary, because we are carrying you and we get to share you with the people we love. May you build our faith up that we would believe that other people around us can experience a life-changing relationship with Jesus. I pray you'll give every person in this room the courage to take that next step in their relationship with you. And may it be a life-changing step, Lord. And I pray that they wouldn't do it alone. That as we start singing this song, Lord, that you'll give them the courage to get up, go to the back of the room, ask for prayer. Have someone to share it with. May we celebrate every life changed by Jesus. It's in his name we pray.